Imagine waking up to this headline. The Pentagon is no longer the Department of Defense. It's once again the Department of War. Yes, you heard that right. In early September 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order that officially rebrands the Pentagon back to its pre-1947 name. This may sound like just a cosmetic change, but in politics, names carry power. And this particular change is sparking huge debates about whether America is entering a new, openly aggressive era of global strategy. But why would Trump want to roll back decades of history? And what does this mean for the U.S., for its allies, and for its enemies? Today, we're taking a deep dive into the history, the politics, and the global consequences of this explosive move. Before we get into it, let me ask you this. Do you think calling it the Department of War makes America more honest or more dangerous? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. To understand why this rebrand matters, we need to rewind the clock. Until 1947, the U.S. military was overseen by the Department of War. It was blunt, straightforward, and reflected America's willingness to call its military what it really was, an instrument of war. But after World War II, during the Cold War era, America needed a softer, more diplomatic face. The National Security Act of 1947 reorganized the military and created the Department of Defense, DoD, a name that projected an image of protecting freedom rather than waging war. This shift wasn't just branding, it was a deliberate strategy. As America emerged as a global superpower, it wanted to lead with words like defense and security, not war. For nearly 80 years, that name stuck. Generations of Americans grew up believing the Pentagon was about defense, even as the U.S. engaged in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and dozens of smaller conflicts. So why undo this history now? According to Trump, the name Department of Defense was misleading. At the signing ceremony on September 5, 2025, he said, "We don't defend. We fight. We win wars. And we're not going to pretend otherwise." For Trump and his allies, this move is about truth in advertising. They argue that the U.S. spends nearly $900 billion annually on its military, maintains 750 overseas bases, and engages in continuous operations around the world. Calling it defense, they say, is a political cover. But critics argue this is much more than honesty. It's a dangerous symbolic escalation. By embracing the language of war, Trump is sending a message not just to Americans, but to the entire world. The U.S. is ready to flex its military muscles more openly than ever before. And this fits with Trump's broader pattern. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen U.S. Navy strikes in the Caribbean against Venezuelan gangs, deployments of F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico, renewed talk of decisive action against foreign adversaries. Renaming the Pentagon fits neatly into that storyline, projecting strength, stirring nationalism, and reframing America as a warrior state. Quick pause. Do you think this is just symbolic politics, or does it signal a real shift in U.S. military doctrine? Let me know in the comments, because this is a debate I'd love to see you weigh in on. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss our deep dives into stories the mainstream media just schemes over. The rebrand has triggered fierce debates inside the U.S. Supporters say it's refreshing honesty. They claim America's military has never been purely defensive, so why hide behind polite words? Opponents, however, see this as deeply troubling. Several senators called it a march toward militarism. Critics argue that symbolism influences policy, and if America officially defines itself around war, it risks normalizing endless conflict. Even military veterans are split. Some feel proud, finally acknowledged as warriors rather than passive defenders. Others worry it paints them as aggressors rather than protectors. Globally, the reaction has been intense. China immediately condemned the move, calling it proof of U.S. aggression and an excuse for Beijing to expand its own military. Russia mocked the decision but also used it as propaganda, with state media saying, "At least they're admitting what they've always been." NATO allies were caught off guard. Privately, diplomats worry that this shift will make it harder for the U.S. to build coalitions. If you're the Department of War, are you still seen as a reliable partner, or just a hammer looking for nails? And here's the bigger question. Could this embolden other countries to drop their own diplomatic pretenses? If America leads with war, does it normalize more aggressive military posturing worldwide? In the end, this might seem like just a name change. But in politics, names are power. Defense suggests protection. War suggests aggression. And in a world already teetering on geopolitical flashpoints, from Ukraine to the Middle East to the South China Sea, this linguistic shift could have ripple effects far beyond Washington. So I'll leave you with this. Is Trump being brutally honest or dangerously reckless? Comment below with your thoughts, and let's get this debate going. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories shaping our world right now.